Arundhati Raj, Artistic Director of Jagriti, but as far as this project is concerned, more importantly, the grant holder. So I worked out how I felt that this project should progress, and in previous grants that we've received for Theatrescience, where we've been using drama to bring about awareness of biomedical issues, we have always had a play. So we have a play this time round too, called The Vaide's Oath, which has been written by Gautam Raja, and the production has been directed by Jeff Tier, who's come from Theatrescience UK. But I was keen to have an education part to this whole project. So we've had this really successful project in schools, where we've gone to 5 schools in Bangalore, and we have gone in and talked to them about, the topic by the way is antimicrobial resistance, and we've gone in and talked to them about AMR, what it's about, why is it happening. We had question sessions with them, why did they think it was happening. And then they went away and did their research, then they wrote a short script, about 5 minutes, 10 minutes was the longest one, and they rehearsed it, and then they came to Jagriti, a professional theatre space, where they had a day to have technical rehearsals, and then they performed the show. So I felt that in terms of using the arts for this kind of awareness, we really, and getting through to the community, I felt that this was a highly successful part of the project. The play, of course, is there. We've had successful shows. We just finished them in March, and it's good because we've had lots of queries for further shows to be done in various places with corporates and in other theatre spaces.
I think what was very interesting about it is I met a completely different crowd of people who brought out much more about the work I do in helping explain my work to them than I could have ever done just sitting in my lab talking to my own students and colleagues.
You know, this is an exciting project for me because it does bring in various elements of sort of the space where science and society intersect, you know, in terms of the practice of science and what comes out of it, and the practice of theatre and how they can interface with each other in a very interesting space in schools as well as in Jagriti. In terms of monitoring and evaluation, it's of course always challenging when we evaluate arts programs, because how do you define outcomes? Because art is always an experience, but at the same time it's essential, I think, for us to find ways in which we can articulate these experiences and describe them in order to find newer modes of engagement with the hard questions that science asks and the hard questions that society also has to answer in terms of how the information we get from science can influence our practices. Because if we remain ignorant to them, then, you know, it's like playing blind man's bluff all the time.
Actually finding the human story or the theatrical story is really interesting. But most of the fun actually is trying to find the interesting human challenge, human story in the, and so that what's happened with both those plays and also with this is that the science has been a part of the story. I sort of see there's a human story and the science story interwoven, interconnected. I haven't quite dared to leave the science out altogether and not refer to it, but tell only a story that alludes to it or alludes to the pattern.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Spurgeon and I was facilitator on the school project. The school project required us to go into a variety of schools and talk to them about antimicrobial resistance and help them create a piece of work that was focused on AMR that was created by them completely. So they wrote a script, they performed in it, they directed it, they produced it, and as a performer and as a teacher, it was really interesting for me to see how the kids accessed both science and theatre in the same project, and were able to combine their knowledge of the two towards making a piece of art. What I felt was really winning for this particular project was the fact that they were able to take something that is usually in their textbooks and think about it in a different way, and think about it in a way that was different from other groups in their class and other kids their age, and really own it. So
I'm Vandana Prabhu. I'm the Public Engagement Coordinator for Jagriti's Welcome Trust grant this year for the topic of antimicrobial resistance. One of the key roles I played was to engage with a select number of schools in Bangalore from a diverse socio-economic background that we hoped to achieve, which we did, and work out a program where we took them through a process of making theatre on the subject of antimicrobial resistance, right from understanding the scientific concept, then moving on to coming up with an improvised 2-minute performance on an issue that they could relate to after they've done some research, and then developing that idea into a 10-minute performance which ended up in the Jagriti Theatre. So this was a pretty complete process from the time of writing, conceptualizing, performing, and everything that goes into the production, backstage and costumes and props for the kids. And this was a set of 20 children in each school. We had 5 schools, Greenwood High, Malyaditi, KK High School Vartur, Dean's Academy, and Vidya Niket.